Hello and welcome to the Wayman Aviation sponsored Insight Aviation podcast, where we find aviation professionals from throughout the country and the world to tell us about their experiences in aviation, how they got started into the industry, and how you can also join the aviation industry. So today we have a special guest, a longtime friend of Wayman Aviation and the Wayman family, Mr. Steve Nazer, commonly known as Stevo1Kinevo. Hello, Steve.
Hey, how you doing? Doing well.
Hey,
Everything is good.
great. Pleasure to have you on here. We've been trying to set this up for a while now, and like the stars aligned to make this happen. So before we get into it, of course, we've got some people live here in the Zoom. We've got some people watching us on Facebook Live. I'd love it if in the chat, in the comments, you let us know where you are. Some people are already chiming in. Someone here from Iraq. That's awesome. So let us know where you're sitting. If you're sitting off on the other side of the world. If you're here in South Florida, where we are, if you're in South America, let us know. Same thing. If you're on the Facebook Live, go ahead and let us know in the comments where you are. And for those of you that are in the Zoom, this is a Zoom webinar, so we have this Q&A button right down here. So if you want to ask questions and answers, go ahead and hit that Q&A button, and we'll get to those questions at the end. I'm sure your fans, the audience, have a lot of good questions for you. So I'd love to start really with right now. What are you working on? What do you have your hands in, Steve?
Well, I do have some exciting things coming up as far as my channel is concerned. It's a little bit top secret right now. We're going to be announcing it here soon, officially. So there's going to be a lot of cool things coming up I can't talk about now, but coming up at the end of July here, Oshkosh Air Adventure. Very excited for that. I got a few videos planned that I'll be filming up there. And
Excellent.
I think we're going to do some dog fighting and some
Whoa.
fighter jets. So, and I think I got to find another social media person to try to shoot me down, and I'll try to shoot them down virtually, but in
Oh,
the real
nice.
airplane.
Wow, that'll be fun. So very
So yeah,
mysterious. You got a lot of mysterious stuff going on.
yeah,
Mhm.
I know. Unfortunately, you got to keep things on the hush hush a little bit until it can be officially announced.
Sure.
But no, yeah, excited for Air Adventure coming up here.
Well, that's a great place for us because we're kind of in the air show season, right? Between Sun and Fun and Oshkosh, it's kind of air show season. I missed you at Sun and Fun. I think we just kind of crossed days. And I'm not going to be at Oshkosh this year, but my brother, Wayman Alfredo, will be there. He's had an opportunity well, he's known you for years and years through Dire Sakata and been on many of your videos. Are you in any official capacity there at Oshkosh with anybody?
Yeah, well, I got a meetup schedule that's all posted at Stevo1Kinevo.com. I got a Wednesday noon meetup. I'll be there all week, but Wednesday at noon at the Runway 36 clothing booth. Bose on Friday at noon, the Bose display, and then Pivot Cases Saturday at noon. I keep it all at noon to make it easy to remember.
It does make it does make it easy. You can sleep in, but the heat is going to be hitting. I had an opportunity to go to Oshkosh about it was pre-pandemic. That's to be about at least 3 years ago, and I've done Sun and Fun since I was a kid because I'm here in Florida. But it was my first time up at Oshkosh, and just the scale of it kind of blew me away. It's got to be at least 3, 4 times larger.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I stay there all week, and it's such a fun week to hang out with all your social media friends and aviation enthusiasts. It's a blast.
Yeah, I'm bummed I'm missing it. So my brother, who knows well, is not only going to be there with Dyer Sakata, showing off the new 960, which I think he just flew it in the first unregistered one. He just flew it in this last weekend from France. Interesting trip. I'm sure he'll tell you about it. And but he's going to be up there showing it off, and he's taking his wife and kids, and they're going to go to I think called something called like Junior Venture,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, it's like a kid camp that lasts the whole week, and the kids, build airplanes and have the kind of their own space at Oshkosh. So I had no idea this happened. I think I have to make a point of going up there with my own two boys and letting them have the full experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that new TVM 960, that is amazing. I got to check it out at Sun and Fun, and it's a game changer as far as the new features on it. Fully FADEC engine and everything. It's amazing.
I hate to kind of conjecture, but any idea what the delay was in the FAA certification?
I think it's happened a few times. Every time they put new big features in a plane, like with the new Autoland system that was in the 940, it took a little bit for that one to get approved. It's just when they go big changes with the, that's usually a lot harder to get things approved real quick.
Well, that makes sense. It gets very technical. So I mean, your day job, right? Your in and out is in the TBM. Tell us about the plane you're flying. I know you said you recently got it repaired.
Yeah. So my full-time job, I fly for a private company out of Miami, Opelika. It's a TBM 850, single engine turboprop for those who don't know that. And it's a 2006 model. I mean, so it's not the newest airplane in the sky, but yeah. So the other day I took off and my pressurization totally went out as after I rotated. So
Oh,
I was like,
okay.
okay, I was just going to St. Pete from Miami, which is a 45-minute flight. So I'm like, okay, beautiful day. I got to get the boss there. So I just stayed low. Yeah, and I think it was at like 8,500 feet just to get there. And then when I was coming into land, I cleared the land. I put the landing gear handle down, nothing. And I'm like,
Oh.
oh. And I had the boss on board, the one boss that
Huh.
hates flying. So I'm
Ooh.
like, for all the people to be on board,
Yeah.
that was not the flight to have all this going on. So
Mm.
I tried again, the landing gear handle, nothing again. So I contacted the tower and I said, tower, clear St. Pete Tower. My landing gear is not coming down. And they said, well, go for a low pass and we'll verify. So yeah, I did the low pass.
Mm.
And I said, yeah, 851 Tango Bravo, your landing gear is not down. So I went missed and I figured let's just declare an emergency. And I don't want to have to deal with normal, you know, pilot duties of airplane that's not having issues. I have to focus on emergency checklist.
It's true.
I don't know the whole outcome of this. So there's no hurt in declaring an emergency when you got something like this going on. So they put me into radar vectors. I pulled out the emergency checklist. And once a year, you go to training. I go to SimCom once a
Sure.
year, and you practice this maneuver every year. And it was just like I was in the simulator. You don't panic. You go with that checklist. At the same time, in my mind, I'm like, I really hope this works like it does in the sim and actually works out. But sure enough, I had the landing gear checklist, completed. I manually pumped the landing gear down within, I'd say 3-4 minutes. I returned right back around for a nice smooth landing. And on short final, they said yes, your landing gear appears to be down. But due to good training, uh, an emergency that could go the other direction when it goes a good way. Just always take your training seriously, and it pays off in
Absolutely.
the real world.
That's what the training's all about. I tell people you really learn how to fly, especially like in these Cessnas, in the first 10, 20 hours. Like you can fly the plane. After that, it's of course navigation, communications, and safety, 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 safety. It's all what happens in case of this, what happens in case of that, what if you do this, what if you do that. That's what all the training's for. And I was reading an interesting one, which is there's very few other careers where your job is on the line every 6 months, right? Not only for the sim, but also for the medical, right?
Yeah,
So like every 6 months you show up and either you keep your job or you don't. And that's kind of crazy, but we do it, we love it. It's what we know how to do. So we'll bring it back to your situation. The TBM is such a modern, sophisticated machine, which I don't even know how many computers and systems on board. But when it comes down to it, I want to say it's like a manual pump or a crank to get your gear down, right?
yeah. What it is you go through a bunch of little steps, but there's in between the two seats up front, there's a floor hatch you'll pull out, and after you get to the step of where you're going to be doing this, there's a manually pump that you pump. And I was at about 40, 45, and still nothing was happening. 45 pumps, and you can go up to like 65 is where it should eventually happen. And it was right around 45 or so is where it finally hit, and I got the 3 green. But when I was
Wow.
getting close, farther into that procedure, I'm like, no, I didn't feel any pressure. Like in the simulator, this is where it's a little different. In the simulator, you start to feel more pressure on the pump handle. And in
Okay.
the real world, there was no pressure at all until
No.
the very ending.
Huh.
So that's where I did get a little bit nervous, thinking, "Whoa, what if this isn't really working?" But it
Yeah.
worked out perfect. And what the issue was, so I'll tell you what's even harder is getting a ferry permit from the FAA. So I had to fly the airplane from St. Pete to Pompano, where the maintenance facility is, and it's a broken airplane.
Sure.
So to get the ferry permit, you got to go online, and it's a whole bunch of steps you got to fill all out,
Mm.
and you got to get a mechanic to look at the airplane, and so it took about 24 hours for me to get it approved. So, I had to get a hotel room, and there's a whole bunch of stipulations in that ferry permit. Like a mechanic had to come go look at the airplane. You have to fly it with the circuit breaker pop for the landing gear circuit breaker. The gear has to remain down the entire flight. Like they list out
Right.
everything that's necessary for you to be able to fly that airplane on that ferry permit to get it fixed. So that's the
Yeah.
steps of how it all worked.
Yeah, that's well. I'm glad you got it down safe. And you, I think, so. Did you have? Did Dyer have a mechanic come out there to St. Pete to see it? Did you go with somebody that was on the field to just
I
give
went
the
with
once
somebody on the
over?
field. Nightingale Aviation. It's this shop right next to Signature Flight Support there at St. Pete. And I've used them. I'm gonna tell you what, I think I've got bad luck at St. Pete. Every time I go there, I get stuck. Last time I was there, my generator failed, and I was stuck there for
Oh
like
no!
4 days.
Is
So
this Albert Whittick or the north side, the St. Pete on
it's
the north
a
side?
St. Pete Clearwater
All
International.
right. I've only ever flown into Albert Whittick on the south side.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, that's a cool little airport.
Beautiful airport with a hangar restaurant, and you're landing right over the bay, and the sailboats are right there. Dali Museum's next door. My cousin
Yeah,
lives
it's
right there.
beautiful.
That's why I go there. Um, but yeah, so bad luck in the Bay Area, huh?
Every time I go there, something massively breaks down on the airplane. So I use the same mechanic as the last time I was there when something broke down bad, which was the
That's
generator.
good. I mean, it's good to have someone you trust, someone who's friendly, to go out and check things for you. Um, so so sorry I came across it, but the airplane's airworthy now. You're back to flying.
Yeah, we got took it back to Opelika the other day, and tomorrow I think I'm going up to Tennessee maybe. So we'll see what happens.
Nice. Excellent. So again, for people that don't know the TBM 850, it's just a beautiful beast of a plane, PT6. It's the fastest single-engine turboprop aircraft on the market, right? Or at least now the TBM family is. Now it's the 960. Um, but I was impressed because I think someone compared it to me. You don't really understand how fast it is until you realize that I've been told, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it can fly from Miami to New York in 3 hours, like a 737. Is that about right?
Miami to New York, it would probably be about 3 hours and 45 minutes or 4 hours, depending on the routing and weather. But
Yeah.
it's yeah, we've taken it from Miami nonstop right to Chicago. Uh, so yeah, it's got a good range for a single engine airplane and good good speed.
And fast, because that's what an airliner would take to get up there, and it's a six-seater, right? And just like
Yeah,
it's interesting that you have it in this um, fractional kind of shared ownership because it's kind of an owner operator plane for the most part. So you meet these really interesting people that not only can fly their own plane, but in order to afford a $3-4 million plane, you've got to be doing something really interesting. So they're all like business owners, I think lawyers, doctors. Is that what you're flying?
yeah. I just fly company employees of the private company that I fly. They own the airplane. They have it. Me just fly the company employees around.
It's beautiful. It's
So I don't
beautiful.
get to meet strangers. I know everybody I fly because it's
That's
all
nice.
just
Yeah, so you got some nice camaraderie and network going on there. Um, so we mentioned this right before the we started recording. I've had a lot of airline captains. We had Captain Alfaro, the Miami International Chief for American Airlines here just last month. We've had a lot of airline captains, but we really haven't had a lot of corporate executive pilots. And that's
I love yeah, I love the lifestyle of what I do, the corporate lifestyle. To me, I like being in the it's a better quality of life to me. I just think it's a lot more fun being able to go into the little FBOs around the country or the world wherever you fly to, and you don't have to deal with the mass big international airports and the terminals with all thousands of people. I just like it being a little bit more low key. It's really a lot of fun, this type of lifestyle.
It is, and over the last 2-3 years of the pandemic, while the airlines took a big step back, and they're back like 110% now. But what grew dramatically was, of course, cargo and executive travel. Anyone that could afford it and really was on the fence about it before, they went for that NetJets membership or EXO or whatever it is, or bought into fractionals, and there's just been this balloon in business aviation. Um, Now I know you work for a private owner, a private group, but I imagine you've seen that flying into all these FBOs around the country.
Oh yeah, for sure. The FBOs have gotten so much busier. Like Banyan back in the pandemic there, they said they had their record fuel sales for Jet A,
Wow.
jet fuel that they've ever had. It's like these FBOs are. I talked to all the pilots, and they say, yeah, their schedules are so busy because everybody's flying corporate now if they can afford it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and as we, uh, climb out of the pandemic, there's still strains and everyone's getting sick, and I've got some family members that are under the weather right now, and I'm like, well, just stay home. But I think that's one of the legacies that's going to go off. Is there's been like this growth in corporate aviation. I don't think it's going to go away. It might be tamped down by the economics and all that, but I think it's going to stay pretty strong. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so too.
So I'm really curious about your route to get into that executive seat because, like I said, a lot of people know. I mean, the flight school here, we like to say that we've carved out a path, through the woods of flight training, and get to being a flight instructor, and off into our airline partners. But a lot of people don't want to be flight instructors, have zero interest in being flight instructors. We've had some students have great success going off and doing other things. And because it takes a certain kind of personality, patience to work with students and teach them. So it's a great and kind of proven track for that we've developed to have our graduates kind of build the time to go to the airlines. But I understand you didn't follow that track. You kind of went into the industry on your own.
Yeah, well, I went to flight school at Fort Lauderdale Executive Airport at Airborne Systems. They're not even in business anymore. But I'm going to tell you right now, I
Yeah,
wish that I had Wayman Aviation. I wish I would. Your facilities there at North Perry are amazing to me. Like when I've taken a tour of everything, and I would have loved to have had a flight school like with you when I was doing my training. But yeah, I didn't even plan on doing it for flying as a career. I got the Montgomery GI Bill being in the Coast Guard, which paid for
nice.
60% of all my flight training after the private pilot license.
Oh, you're
So I used
cool.
that to get all my ratings just because I liked flying. And then one day I found out at Fort Lauderdale International here they were hiring first officers on Fairchild Metroliners, and I applied and got a job as a co-pilot at 400 hours. And I,
400
I told
hours.
you earlier, I mean, I didn't know what I was doing at 400 hours. I think
Yeah.
the limits should definitely be higher for that. But and
Well,
wish it they are now.
it's funny because you talk to people, and most people tell you that at about 500 hours is when they started feeling comfortable in a plane, right?
Yeah.
Like we can get in and you kind of know your way around. We were joking, you can't even find the on switch at 400 hours. And you get a commercial license at 200, 250 hours, right? So there's still quite a learning curve there. So you learned to fly airborne systems, all your ratings there in Fort Lauderdale Executive?
Yeah, Fort Lauderdale, exactly. Same flight school throughout all my ratings,
Huh?
and I started flying as a first officer, and then
Well,
I went to Saab 340s after that, and then one day I decided to. It was that was Part 121 flying, and then one day I was like, well, I got a job offer to fly corporate, like charter jobs out of same Fort Lauderdale Executive. So then I switched over to corporate, probably like 2 years into flying for 121.
so and a lot of people ask, well, how did you get from that 200, 250 hours to 400? Was that just going out and weekend flying and renting and time building?
Yeah, it'd be me and my friends. We'd all go out and
Mm.
fly around, just keep flying for fun. We just had a
Sure.
blast flying around Florida, go get lunch or
Yeah.
different places and stuff, and just
$100
flying a lot.
hamburgers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. That's excellent. All right. So you come across the opportunity at 400. And I have to tell you, I'm seeing more and more kind of like people kind of getting picked up at 500 hours for SIC, second in command, right? Um, so, for example, the TBM doesn't require a second pilot, right? Is there opportunity for someone to fly an SIC on a TBM or anything like that?
With me, no, I couldn't do that with my job. But I mean, climb to 350.com is an aviation employment site that I direct a lot of people to for different flying gigs, co-pilot stuff, you know, like Makers Air out of Fort Lauderdale right now. They've advertised on it.
Automakers.
Yeah, they switched to Makers Air now. They used to
Oh,
be
they're
called Water
makers.
Makers.
Okay.
And they're hiring co-pilots on the caravans, which is an amazing opportunity for someone to get into the caravans and fly as a co-pilot.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Well,
so
Rob over at Tropic Ocean, same thing. Caravans and flying all around the Caribbean. And I think you that was the corporate gig you're talking about, right? You've got to do all that Caribbean flying.
Oh yeah, I've been to almost every island in the Bahamas you can think of that has a runway.
Yeah.
I mean, what was amazing is the Bahamian people. I love their culture out there, and they made me a flying ambassador to the Bahamas. Probably
Oh,
I think like
beautiful.
3, 4 years ago, and they had a
Nice.
really cool ceremony out there at Freeport for me. Yeah, I feel so privileged and happy to be part of their community out there.
What does it entail to be an ambassador, a flying ambassador for the Bahamas?
You basically are there to help guide people along. It's on the government website. It
Hmm.
lists all the different flying uh, ambassadors, and you can reach out to them, and they'll help guide you along to fly your airplanes if you want to fly out there, privately, or anybody that has questions. We're there to answer them for them,
Sure.
and then just also to help promote, general aviation in the Bahamas.
I kick myself because I've done most of my flying down here, but I've never really flown the islands. I think I've flown to the Bahamas like twice in my flying experience. And a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, I had a similar interview with Rob Arkin. If you're out there, hey Rob, and he was kind of like laid out like what it takes to fly in the Bahamas. Pandemic comes and they've thrown on all of these health requirements now, right? Like you gotta, I think you still have to do the testing and a special kind of like health passport type thing. Is all that still happening in the Bahamas?
Yeah, it's like it changes weekly, but now as of right now, they're not even requiring testing to get back in the United States
Oh,
anymore.
that's good.
They stopped that, so that was a really nice thing because I love to go out to the Bahamas, but if I were to test positive and I'm still feel perfect, I wouldn't be able
Mm-hmm.
to come back to the United States, and now you're stuck out there. And if you have a job like with me, I'm the only pilot for my company. I don't think they'd be too happy if I was stuck
No,
out in the Bahamas because of that.
that
But
would
yeah,
be
they got rid
challenging.
of that. They got rid of that
I
testing
think
to
I'm
come
gonna,
back in.
I think I'm gonna take the plunge. I'm gonna get an APIS sticker, and I'm gonna start doing it. I've got this little project. I call it the Flying Circus. I'm flying. So I've got a 12 and a 13-year-old, and I've been flying a lot more recently. I finally picked up my commercial, multi, and single, and basically I have. They're not going to summer camp, so my goal is to fly with them every weekend around Florida. Maybe we'll start dipping into Georgia and stuff like that. I'm trying to find destinations, and well, Bimini is like 30 minutes away.
Yeah, super quick and easy to get there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of people think it's really intimidating to fly out there. And when you really do it a few times, you're going to see it's really easy and it's not as intimidating as most people think.
Hmm. Maybe I'll take you up on that as an ambassador and do like a sprint to Bimini or something. I feel like I just have to break the seal, right?
No,
It's,
Bimini is awesome. That's so
yeah.
quick to get there. And I mean, the water there and everything you can do there is really a lot of fun.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm gonna look into that. Yeah. So far on the list, we've been to St. Pete, visited my cousin. Then we went up to Ormond Beach, which I was really impressed with. Ormond Beach Airport itself, kind of a mess, but so we ended up flying into Daytona, and man, I hadn't been. So my brother, you know very well, Wayman Alfredo, Embry-Riddle class of '93. And so I remember going to Daytona 20 years ago, and it was a sleepy little town. And Embry-Riddle was nice, but it was small, and it looks like you're pulling up to an airport when you're when like it looks like a full airport terminal with its own tower. It's very impressive up there. And then of course we got out to Ormond Beach, and that part of Florida is just beautiful, right there on
Yeah,
the
yeah, for sure.
like Jacksonville coast. But we're on a big tangent here. So all right, so executive world, you're flying Saabs, and you're with makers they're called now, flying around, and pretty formative. How many hours did you put on in that period?
Oh man, it was flying a lot. We would average like we were almost running up to our time limits for like your periods of time
Wow, that
with the
much.
regulations. Yeah, we were running right up to the regulations. That was with my Sky Limo job and my first airline job that I took, but we were flying so much. But no, it was a lot of great flying and going into single pilot, where you're the captain and there's no co-pilot.
Mm-hmm.
When, single pilot ops, it's challenging and it's a lot of fun though.
Yeah, because you're everything, right? You're flight planning, you're dispatch, you're the meteorologist, you're everything on the flight. You're loading the bags,
Yeah,
right?
definitely. A lot of responsibility, that's for sure.
That's actually bed, like you said. You get to know all your passengers, especially like in a single owner or group ownership kind of situation. You really get to know them. So this is a common recurring question I get a lot. It's just those first 1,000 hours are the most difficult. And to anyone that's bumping along there at 300 hours or 600 hours, like now is your moment. Like you said, start looking around, join the groups, join. Are you a member of any of the organizations like OBAP or LPA or any of those?
AOPA. I mean,
AOPA?
yeah,
Great organization, card carrying members, right?
yeah.
But that networking, just getting out there, because in aviation, it's such a small community. It's literally worldwide, but it's a very tight community. So you come across the same people all the time. That's what's so special about places like Oshkosh and Sun and Fun is kind of where everyone gets a chance to gather, look at the latest toys, kind of share notes about what's going on. So, what would be your advice now to someone that's starting to get into it? Maybe they're a private pilot, maybe they haven't even done a discovery flight yet. What would you tell someone who wants to jump in?
Just, I mean, make sure it's right for you. Like, go on a discovery flight at your local airport, and just make sure that like something like that is actually something you would enjoy. I mean, the idea of flying airplanes to me is amazing, but I mean, I didn't know if I would enjoy it. But that first discovery flight, I was like, "Whoa, this is really cool." But it took me many years after that with funding. I couldn't afford to get my ratings when I was a young guy. So, but I would say definitely just go to the airport, get your discovery flight, find a good flight school. If you're in South Florida, Wayman Aviation. I heard
Heck
you guys got Sally Mae approved,
yeah.
so
Yeah,
help
that's a
people with their
big one.
financing.
Yeah. Well, the biggest obstacle really for most people is financing. Just like you said, you got to use a GI Bill. We're VA authorized. We work with a lot of universities, and Sally Mae has been wonderful to us. We This is brand new actually in the last 30 days. So we had regular kind of Sally Mae loans, and they upgraded us to basically collegiate Sally Mae loans. So now you will get higher approvals, lower rates, right? So we went from about a 30% approval to almost 62% of people get approved for financing, all the way up to 90,000, the whole thing in living expenses. So I think that'll help a lot more people get started in flying and aviation. But coming back to your path, you were in the Coast Guard. How come you didn't pursue Air Base Miami? Seems like it was right there.
Oh, well, say again. I'm sorry. This is live. My earbuds went out on juice,
That's
so I
fine.
hope you can still hear me.
Yeah.
I had to
No.
take them out because they died out.
So I was saying, with your Coast Guard experience and now your commercial certificates, you weren't interested in pursuing Coast Guard aviation. Miami Air Base Miami is right there at Opelika.
Oh, I wish. My ASVAB scores back in the day, I couldn't get high enough to get into the aviation section of the Coast Guard. You got to get really high scores to be
Mm.
selected to go through to be an officer in the Coast Guard. So I I decided to just go the regular on the with the cutters, the ships that they have. They call them cutters, Coast Guard cutters. But
Sure.
no, I would have loved to have gone into aviation back then. But yeah, it didn't work out for me.
All right. And so, parallel to all this, you started making videos, right? Was it just kind of like an interest that you just got a GoPro one day and started, or how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved photography, and back in 2006 is when I started my YouTube channel, and I just named it after, my name isn't even an aviation name, Stevo1Kinevo. It's not even aviation, but I just like filming, and where everything changed, I was the GoPro aviation audio cable. I got that like years after when it first came out, that cable where you plug it into your GoPro, then now you can talk to the camera.
Yeah.
And I went from 3,000 subscribers to not ever be able to talk to a camera to now we're over a 500,000.
Yeah.
But
Congratulations.
and it's all you being able to talk to the viewers. Otherwise, putting music to just aviation footage only goes so far. To me, if you're doing like a YouTube channel, you always the key to making a good video is to entertain people and educate people. If you can, educate people, like show like something that you're doing and people can learn from it a little bit in their way and actually entertain people too at the same time, to me, I think that's what a good like YouTube video consists of.
Yeah, you kind of fill a sweet spot there because you know your videos aren't too short. They're not excessively long. I think your regular videos are probably like 20, 30 minutes, something like that, right? You usually pick a fun destination like Cedar Keys or visiting the pigs out in the Bahamas. And we get to ride along in what's pretty rarefied air, right? Because I think we've all seen lots of Cessna cockpit videos, right? My students put them out like every day. I feel like I see student cockpit videos, and you're right. You've seen one good landing, you've seen one bad landing, kind of seen them all. The music changes sometimes, but there's only about 1,000 TBMs I think out in the world, and so that's something you don't usually get that inside view of, right? Um, so it's a unique cockpit, and you do a good job of carrying it and kind of explaining what you're doing. Have you had any favorites over all the videos you've made?
So just recently, when I flew with the United States Air Force Thunderbirds,
Yeah,
that
that's
is by
cool.
far my favorite video I've ever made. I mean, or my favorite experience in aviation I've ever had was that one.
Yeah.
But besides that, like I like back a couple of years, many years ago, I filmed with the United States Coast Guard when we did
Oh.
some rescue in the Dolphin.
Okay.
That was amazing too. I just love working with the United States military, with Coast Guard, the Air Force,
Yeah.
any other branches. I really give a lot of respect to all the men and women that serve our country, and to be
Mm.
able to showcase like what they do. And I think that's amazing. But my favorite
Yeah.
experience ever was flying with the F-16. And he actually, his name was Primo. He actually let me take the F-16 and fly it for like about 12 minutes total.
Nice.
And it was epic. I mean, it's a fly-by-wire system,
Okay.
and just the slightest maneuver, that stick, and you're just spinning, looping. It's so
Yeah.
much fun.
Was that 12 minutes loggable? I don't know.
I didn't log. I just logged it in my memory. That's all that matters to
Yes.
me.
Well, you're absolutely right. Everybody that flies in the military, which is a great branch, a great way to pursue an aviation career. If you do well on your ASVABs, you don't have the finances otherwise for civil. I definitely looked at the Air Force when I was about 17 doing my ASVABs, and I just decided I was too much of a pacifist to go that route. But
Yeah.
every single person I've met from the military, they're all just constant professionals. It's,
Yes.
it's very demanding of them, and they're great, every single one of them. And those of them that have gone into the civil world, like Rob at Tropic Ocean, really carry that professionalism with them. It's really interesting. So the Thunderbirds, that had to be a bucket list item. I mean,
That was. And the problem is I never experienced this, but like when you get to finally experience a bucket list a bucket list item in your life, and like that was like the top of it, I'm like, now what? Like I'm like, I guess I gotta create a new bucket list item. So my new bucket list item would be to go up into space.
that's what I
Uh,
was thinking. Totally.
I don't think it'll ever happen, but I never thought I'd be able to fly with the Thunderbirds. So you just never know. You got to have that bucket list item, and going to space and doing a cool video would be amazing to do something like that.
It's more achievable now than ever before. I mean, SpaceX is launching, I think, every 2 weeks
Wow.
from Cape Canaveral. I was a huge space nerd. I went to space camp when I was a kid, and I always had my eye on it. I was super sad when the space shuttle program ended, and I'm so glad to see the U.S. and SpaceX going back out there, and all the other programs that are building up around Titusville. Not far away at all. Actually, on our flight back from Mormon Beach this last weekend, I told my boys like, "Hey, look out the left window, and there's like the massive space shuttle runway. I have to do a low pass
So,
one day. I know they'll allow that."
what's cool? You know what I'd like to see? Like, anybody that's watching this video, like, leave it in the comments. Like, what would their bucket list item
Yeah,
be? I'd like to hear, like, read the comments and see, like, what their bucket list item would be.
I'll
That'd be
tell
cool.
you mine. I want to go supersonic.
Do you really? Wow.
Yeah, I think it'd be super cool. I doubt you did on that flight with the Thunderbirds, but those
No, I think
F-16s.
we topped out at like 600 miles per hour.
Yeah. Oh, you're up
And
there.
yeah, it was fast.
Yeah.
Oh, and
I remember there was one, I was on a camp out with my boys, and we heard these two huge booms. And some people in the camp out thought that it was like an explosion or a power or something. And then, of course, everyone looks on their phone, and two F-16s had scrambled to Mar-a-Lago because somebody was, I guess, entering the TFR. And they
oh,
they had sonic booms just off the coast here, or maybe it was on the inside, on the Everglades side, which is extremely rare, right? Because you're not supposed to have sonic booms over land in populated areas.
I think a lot of people were busting that TFR when it was down here in South Florida. I heard that they
Oh,
were
it was a
getting
mess.
scrambled all the time for
Yeah.
people
Well, I
going into
mean, you restrict an extremely dense and popular part of the aviation world. I mean, aviation Florida is one of the aviation capitals of the world, and
For
then
sure.
also you just can't say you can't fly around West Palm Beach. I'm like, okay, like that's a lot. Um, so Rudy over here would have loved to fly the Concorde. You know,
Oh, that.
yeah. I'm sure you've been out to TNT. For those of you that don't know TNT, it's out in the middle of the Everglades, 10,000 foot runway. All of the schools down here do a lot of training and practice out there, and it was developed and designed for the Concorde. It was supposed to be the what was the name of it? It was the super port of the future. It was going to have 10 runways and bullet trains that run to Miami and to Tampa and all these things. And now it's just 10,000 feet of asphalt out there in the middle of the Everglades. Um, Surprising. So 15-minute flight to get there, hour and a half drive to get out there. I was like, I never want to drive out here again. Um, but anyhow, tangent. Yeah, bucket list items would be amazing. What I did, yeah, it was kind of a bucket list item. I started dabbling into aerobatics. I was out in Vegas and I flew with the name escapes me right now, but I got to fly an extra 300, and then I
Oh,
was so yeah, those are fun, and I was so jazzed that when I came back here, one of our neighbors flies at Pitts. Peter has this great foundation called Beacon 14s, the number 14. 14s, a little double entendre there. But basically, he fundraises to give foster kids flights in his pits and try to inspire them to aviation. I was like, that's awesome. What a great
that's
way to
great.
inspire kids. Have you done much in the way of aerobatics?
Yeah, I've flown with Sean D. Tucker a few times.
Nice.
We flew down here. I flew with him at Oshkosh. And with Mike Goulian's team, Pablo. We've simulated Red Bull Air Race one at Sun and Fun a couple of years ago.
Beautiful.
And shout out to Mike Goulian and Pablo back then. They actually took up my dad and my
Oh, I saw that. Yes.
yeah, and they let him do some loops and barrel rolls, and I was so worried about him because he's an older guy, but he loved it so much. So yeah, big shout out to Mike Goulian and Pablo for taking up my dad. That was something he'll never forget. But no, I love aerobatics. It's fun.
It is. It is. And so many people kind of really focus in on the career, the airline, like let's make a nice paycheck, A to B, and all that kind of stuff. That there's so much other aviation out there that you get to see in the general aviation, the GA world, right? Which again, coming back to your channel, I think people see something out of the norm. Everyone's so focused on the airlines that when they get to see you flying into all these different places, somebody told me some statistics, and I'm totally gonna get this wrong, but it's something on the order of there's like 5,000 airports in the U.S. and airliners only fly into about 5% of them.
Yeah, you're basically just stuck on the same routes over and over and over for the most part. And
Right.
that's what I love about the kind of flying I do. Like I don't know if a month to month, like I might go to some really cool destinations that I've never thought I'd ever get to go to. Like when I landed the TBM at down in St. Martin, when
Mhm.
they got that famous approach that goes right
Oh,
over the
right.
beach.
Yeah, the big beach approach.
I was like, when I got to do that, I was like, whoa, that was as a smaller down on the bucket list items, but landing at that beach was on my list of things I always wanted to do. So it was just really fun to be able to accomplish that. And there was so many people. I was coming into land, and the beach was just packed, and they're all waving at me. But I'm like, okay, why? This is not impressive. It just seemed a little TBM. But then I just realized there was like a 747 right behind me coming into land. So
Wow.
I got lucky that everybody was on the beach waiting for the big airplane to land, and I was just the little guy in front of the big one. So I got to see a lot of people when I
Yeah.
landed.
It's impressive to see those. I think it's KLM that flies in there a lot with the big 747s. We've got some students from St. Martin from all the islands, and
Us.
one of our creative team students, Crystal, sent us a beautiful picture of her with the airplane flying right overhead. I want to go there. I'm gonna have to get into more Caribbean flying. I keep saying it, and I'm inspired now to do more Caribbean
There
flying.
you
Yeah. So, as you go through your career now, you've so experienced. Are you gonna? I mean, maybe it's not the place to talk about it, right? Because your boss might be listening. But do you want to stay in this world with your other TBM? Like, do you see yourself? There's some really large paychecks going on in that airline world, and they are sucking up corporate pilots left and right. Um, I know I see it every day. I see people that are starting their careers and jumping over there, and then a lot of retirees coming back into the corporate world? It's a weird kind of cycle happening in the aviation world.
I told my boss, I told him this many years ago. I said, as long as you keep the TBM or maybe upgrade eventually would be nice because this one keeps breaking down all the time. But as long as he keeps an airplane, I said I would retire with him. To me,
Beautiful.
I making a lot of money is one thing in life, but to me, quality of life, to be able to spend it with your family and friends and make a decent amount of money, that's more important than just making a ton of money. I'd rather be happy and have a good quality of life. And that's what I have right now.
So let's take a moment on that because it's something you hear all the time in the forums. You know, United just released this whole thing, and then the conversation turns to quality of life, and it's a term that you hear a lot. Um, so I guess a bit of a balance. The quality of life. When you think airlines, you think probably a more predictable schedule, kind of more like clocking in and clocking out from a job, right? How does the quality of life? How's the quality of life better in the corporate world?
Well, here's the thing. There's different types of corporate jobs. Like I had jobs in the corporate world where you were on call and you would have to be at the airport within 1 hour. That's horrible quality of life. My schedule, I basically know my schedule a month in advance and I don't really have to work that much. So I'm not burnt out. I know my schedule in advance and I have a lot of free time to enjoy all the other activities that I enjoy besides aviation. So it's I guess I kind of have a very rare type of job because this, my work rules are amazing and it's not like that in all corporate jobs. Somehow I just got really lucky.
Well, I mean, that goes to what you just said. You know, when you find the right gig, you hold on to it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. You don't give that up. I mean, not all corporate jobs are, I would rather fly at an airline besides being on call 1 hour to get to the airport again because you make plans to do anything and then all of a sudden you get that call and you got to be there at the airport within 1 hour. That's horrible quality of life. But I did that job because I knew to get single pilot, you know, experience and for flying turbines around. So I knew it was what I needed to do for my resume.
And again, it's an interesting one because of the TBM, because of its range and all of that. Like, you can go pretty far, but it's not like if you're a global pilot, you could be on the other side of the world by tomorrow morning. And that's I think probably a different quality of life because you have these very long trips. I mean, people don't usually travel to Tokyo for the day and come back, right?
No, my real good friend, he's on Instagram, Owen, Fly with Owen. He flies Gulfstreams and I follow him, he's my friend. He's in a different country every day. I'm like, anybody's young. So a young guy, that's a good, fun lifestyle, when you're young and you don't, you're not tied down, I think. But by following him, I'm like, whoa, yeah, it's pretty cool to see. He's living a really awesome life, getting to see the whole world.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking to one of our instructors that just kind of finished with us late last year, and I was just checking in on him. I forget what it was for. I was just checking in on him, and he's like, "Oh, I can't call you right now. I'm in Spain." I'm like, "How are you in Spain?" He's flying a Gulfstream. He's second Gulfstream. I was like, "Oh, wow, that was quick." you
Yeah,
know.
definitely.
Um, and that's a good point because for different stages of your life, you're talking about a young guy, different stages of your life, there's different opportunities, right? Um, it's, yeah, fly your butt off. When you're young, you're 20 something, you don't have a mortgage, you don't have kids or anything like that, like fly your butt off. Um, and go to far flung places, new cultures, new foods, new experiences. At the same time, I also hear a lot of people on the backside of their career that want to be able to sleep in their own home. So one of our partners, Silver Airways, flying right out of Fort Lauderdale International a lot. It's a 121 airline flying Saabs and ATRs, where you pretty much go home every night, right?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, when
Yeah,
you get older in life, you're married, kids, that's where you want to be with your family and friends more. You don't want to
absolutely.
be stuck living in hotels
Yeah.
away from home.
Well, funny enough, a lot of our graduates that don't want to become instructors, they also go to IBC, which is a kind of a local cargo airline. And I didn't know this. I found out they only fly Monday through Friday.
Wow,
And
I didn't even know that. I
I
thought they,
know. Like, what kind of airline only flies Monday through Fridays? Like, you always hear that your weekends and your holidays for the rest of your life are gone. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, I gotta look into IBC. That's interesting. Yeah, no, there's something for everyone out there that meets. Everyone's not a cookie cutter fit for the airlines, and there's a lot of variety in aviation. So yeah, you've got to find what's the right fit for you. We're kind of getting to the end of our hour, so I'd love to take some questions. I know we've got some attendees here. I'm going to also take a look at questions on Facebook. That's interesting. Declan wants to know if you have types and how many types do you have?
Yeah, I got typed in the Saab 340, the Fairchild Metroliner, and I think that's about it. Just those two airplanes for aircraft type rating.
Excellent.
But I have as far as I have my ATP license, so
Sure.
airline sport pilot.
I've always heard the Saab's a really nice plane to fly. I haven't had the
Well,
opportunity.
if you can fly a Saab, I mean, that's old school kind of. So like the overhead, there's a million buttons and a million lights, and you got to know what every one of them does. So it's a lot of fun it was an intimidating airplane, but it's a lot of fun, definitely.
Excellent. Uh, let's see, going on down here. Uh, Alberto Online. Oh, one of our students, hey Alberto, wants to know a lot of YouTubers are catching heat from the FAA for posting videos in the cockpit. How do you make so much content without making the FAA angry? And I want to say you did upset the
No,
FAA.
I've been under full investigation by the FAA. They didn't like my caravan stuff even because it was a Part 135 company.
Mm.
And even though I was filming just on empty legs, they came at me for everything. You're flying drones in your videos. Do you have your drone license? Yes. Brake and sterile cockpit. I mean, every single thing you can think of, they came at me for. And they made me do an examination ride.
Really? Wow, that far.
It was thankfully they let me. The company I was flying the caravans for, they let me use the caravan for the re-examination ride with. I don't know. There was a million different things, but yes, they don't really bother you on Part 91 stuff. But I'm going to tell you right now, don't break any Part 91 rules, or do anything that is not right, because they are watching. And when you put your stuff out for the world to see, you got to make sure it's correct and done right within all the rules and the guidelines. So
yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you're documenting whatever it is that you did that you're doing wrong, right? Like that, the guy that jumped out of his plane, that was ridiculous.
Oh, that was horrible. That was so irresponsible. I think they yanked his license or suspended it for a while. It should be yanked permanently, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was excessive. That was excessive. Let's see what questions we've got coming on here. Well, Alberto also says that his bucket list item is an Alaskan bush trip, flying out to the Alaskan bush. Ever had a chance to do that?
I haven't, but that would be on the list. That would be it too. That sounds like it would be a lot of fun.
Who did I meet recently? Was it who he's out in Alaska? He also does a lot of YouTube videos. His name escapes me right now, but we met at the Flight School Association, and I want to go visit him. It just sounds like so much fun. My father was a bush pilot down in the Amazon. That's how we kind of Women Aviation got its start, was in bush flying. Let's see the questions I got here. Rudy just says that your videos have been a great source for information. He's working on his PPL out of Opelika. Oh, with us. Thank you, Rudy. But it's taking longer than expected. Pandemic, work, family, and life. The Zooms and the videos and your videos keep them going. Any advice for somebody like that? I mean, like you said you came to it after your stint in the Coast Guard. Honestly, I'm coming back to aviation after, it was probably like 15 odd years that I didn't really fly very much. Like, how do you dig in? How do you keep moving, when you're later?
I always just say, I mean, to me, I always say just to have fun and enjoy each step of your training. Like, don't look to get all the way to the end. Just look at the next step. And before you know it, you're going to be all the way to where you want to go. And at the time, you don't think it's going very fast. But once you get there, you're going to be like, whoa, I can't believe I'm already got my ATP license and I'm flying for an airline. And you're going to think, well, it actually went quicker than you thought it was. But when you're looking to get into the future, it always seems like it's going slow. But then once you get there, you're like, whoa, that went fast. That's how it went for me. So just have fun and enjoy each step and don't try to rush through it. And
That's
just
true.
have fun.
Yeah, there's no overnight success. Whenever you see somebody and successful, it didn't happen from one day to the next. You said you started making YouTube videos in 2006. When did you start flying?
Oh, man. I'd have to go look at my logbooks. I forget. And probably a few years before that. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like 15 plus years in, right? There's no overnight success. It is one flight at a time, one ride at a time. So yeah, I mean, if you're working through your private now and you're only flying on the weekends or every other week, you know, keep it going, keep it going. Honestly, right now is the best time that I've ever seen to get into the aviation industry. Aviation cyclical, very ups and downs, but the numbers that are being thrown out for starting salaries, the financing. 10 years ago, you couldn't get financing; it was impossible. It
Yeah,
was, you had to sell your car, and that was kind of the only way to get there. So, the fact that 2/3 of the people applying for Sally Mae loans with us are getting approved is wonderful,
that's really
and yeah, um, and we're getting visits constantly from airlines, like I mentioned. I've got American Airlines, working on something with them that I hope will give fruit by the end of the summer. But they want to hire 2,000 pilots this year.
wow. Yeah, no, it's a great time to get into aviation.
I heard this crazy statistic that 70% of American Airlines pilots are retiring in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah,
70.
and I read that they're slashing their schedule too because of the pilot shortage. Like,
Yeah.
they don't have the pilots to fly all their routes. So
Yeah,
it's
it's a phenomenal time to get into it, and for those of you that love aviation, maybe you fly flight simulator a lot, or you're into RC planes, or whatever it might be. Go to your local airport, give us a call if you're here in South Florida, and go for a discovery flight. Right, just get into a cockpit of a plane. You have an instructor with you. Fly down the beach, or the local. Every airport has a local route where they show you all the sites, whether it's the lake or the canyon or whatever might be nearby, and check it out. In that 1 hour, you're gonna know if you love aviation or not, right? And if at the worst, it's a great way to spend a Saturday morning.
for sure.
Yeah. Any parting words for people that want to get into aviation?
No, yeah, just like I said, just go for it. I mean, you only live once, and I never want to get to the end of it and say, "What if?" So I'd rather go out there and just get it done and see what it's all about.
So, if this was people's first time coming across you, where can they find you? Where can they find your content? How can they contact you?
Yeah, so if you like aviation stuff, Stevo1Kinevo on YouTube and Stevo1Kinevo on Instagram, and then also Facebook is the three big platforms I use the most.
Hmm.
Um, the Instagram gets a little bit more behind the scenes compared to the YouTube videos, like just like what's going on, a lot of my layovers, and like when my airplane breaks down, I show a lot more on Instagram. So there's like bullet holes going through the roof, like engine issues or whatever it could be. That's where you see a lot more like behind the scenes stuff is on my Instagram.
Yeah, I think people really enjoy that, because the video. I think you have about one video a month, more or less, and people really kind of like following along with your adventures. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to I was for many years it was every other Friday I would upload, but lately with my flying schedule not being as much as I'm doing about a video a month right now, but it's still a lot of fun. But yeah, Instagram is where I do a lot more of my content, current up to date stuff.
Excellent. Well, I'll definitely be looking for you there, and I'm looking forward to doing just more work with you over the next few months. And for anyone that wants to contact us, you can find us on all the social media platforms at Wayman Aviation. That's on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. Our TikTok is actually doing really well right now. I just kind of started dabbling into that, and I'm pretty happy about it. So, and thank you for all the great feedback, all the questions that were sent to us. You can find this immediately on Facebook. It'll be on YouTube, and then our podcast, Inside Aviation, probably in the next week or two. Steve, thank you so much for joining us today.
No, thanks to all everybody that follows along. It's really appreciated. Thanks for having me on here.
My pleasure. You have a great evening.
Yeah, same to you.